All right, welcome to science class. This week we have a pretty normal week coming up. You will do the guided notes 2.1 because it's a new unit. You'll have Cornell notes, and then you'll have a project for the week. So it's a pretty normal week. For this whole unit, we're looking at how our actions and choices as humans affect the environment. So this includes things like how we affect animals, the water, and air. The essential question for the week is, how does what we buy affect ecosystems? There's quite a bit of vocab in this unit, so you'll probably need to pause the video here so you can read and write all those down. Just as an example, we're going to use orangutans. And so surprisingly, scientists estimate that within 10 years, all orangutans on the planet will be extinct, unless they're in a zoo, of course. And so orangutans live in a pretty small area of the world. They stick really only to Sumatra, Borneo, Java, Bali, and some other smaller islands in Indonesia. And the thing that is killing them is in Halloween candy, among other foods too. But Halloween candy is a really good example because Halloween is coming up. If you were to look at a typical Halloween candy and look at the ingredients, you'll see those. So you have a chocolate wafer bar, some taffy, malted milk balls, and something like a chocolate peanut butter bar. In one of those typical candies, you'll have ingredients that come from all over the world. So, for example, if you looked at a chocolate wafer bar, you might have milk that comes from the United States, sugarcane that comes from Brazil, cocoa that comes from Africa, palm oil, which comes from Indonesia, and wheat or peanuts that come from China. So just that one candy can have ingredients that come from all over the place. Right now, in these places, there's kind of a clash happening between farmers and animals that live there. And so we're using orangutans as our example. And so in some of those areas, farmers are cutting down forest so they can plant these ingredients. So things like palm oil, corn, wheat, raising cows for milk, and sugarcane. And unfortunately, orangutans can only live in those trees and those jungles. And so if farmers cut them down to make farmland, they have nowhere else to go. So they end up starving and dying. In nature, everything is connected. So if you remove one organism, it's going to have a ripple effect or a domino effect on the rest of the ecosystem. And that's not a good thing. Altering the landscape into a farm also alters things like water quality and air quality. So it doesn't just affect the animals there. And that's just one example. So we used orangutans as an example, but there's literally thousands of different things that we buy that affect other animals or plants out in nature. And so if you're taking a woodland or a forest and converting it into a cornfield or a soybean field, you're removing a lot of different animals that would live there, and they have to either go somewhere else or most of the time they just die. So our goal for the week is to answer this question: how does what we buy affect ecosystems? And so I used orangutans as examples, just for the video's purposes. But you're definitely encouraged to think of other things based off the videos that you watch that might affect other animals around the world for your projects. And just as a reminder for your notes, the page of notes that you turn in after these guided notes, you'll have 4 different boxes. So your big main box will have keywords, ideas, vocab, anything that we talked about multiple times. Up at the top, you'll have the essential question for the week. So I just have 9.9 as an example, but for yours this week, it's actually 2.1. At the bottom, you have a 1 to 2 sentence summary. And then in the left box, you have 3 quiz questions. And so the best way to think of this is if you were a teacher and you were going to make a quiz on the videos that you've had to watch, then what would those 3 quiz questions be? And then just as a reminder, or if you're new to the team, when you're doing your project, kind of want to think of it like a basket. So you're trying to put everything that you know about that topic into the basket. And so that could come from information you got from me, could be something you learned in 5th, 6th, or 7th grade, or even younger than that. It could be something you've seen on Netflix or YouTube, something you learned about in ELA, social studies, math, even related arts class, something you Google or look up on your own. It could literally be just about anything that you've got for background knowledge. So it doesn't only have to come from the guided notes. You kind of want to use every ounce of knowledge that you've got. Okay, so now you're going to move on to some independent work time. And so during that time, you'll want to go ahead and make sure you're watching all the videos that are attached to this week's work plan. It's going to all be about environmental stuff. And so you'll see some videos on orangutans and farming, and then also things like fast fashion. And after that, you'll work on your project for the week. If you have any questions, just ask. Bye.